Episode 7 of Everything Mayor. Welcome back to the show. If you are a returning listener, viewer, I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, please do. I greatly appreciate that. But this is episode 7, and we are here in the United States of America on a beautiful Sunday morning, and we are witnessing the John Mayer solo tour over in Europe, across the pond, the other way, because normally it's the other way around. We are the ones here in North America fortunate enough to have Mayer touring around our states and cities, but now we get to watch from afar, much like most people throughout the world get to watch him. So we're getting a little bit of a taste of our own medicine here, trying to catch up with the time difference and see what happened at these shows. We're going to talk about the first 3 shows on this tour, some surprises, some not so surprising things, some very interesting things, and it seems as though each show, as it happens, is just compounding on the last one for cool things that are happening. But let's start out with the first one. We're going to go through each set list and just take a look at what happened. So March 13th, 13 March, over in Stockholm. Let's see what he did. Starts out the show, slow dancing in a burning room, shot in the dark, Queen of California. Shouldn't matter, but it does. 2 sob rock songs right off the bat. Very cool. If you've been to the show, you know that he's using some archival footage from the Room for Squares days, and usually from the Continuum days as well. So very cool to see that. As I've said in a previous video, it was a little bit hard to hear the audio, the echoey type thing. It is just, but nonetheless, very cool to see that. And it gives a nice little break in the show as he moves between the seated portion to the standing portion. No Such Thing. Who Says, Waiting on the Day, Neon, In Your Atmosphere. In Your Atmosphere is become a staple here. It used to be kind of like that unicorn song that you wanted to hear, and it was so magical on Where the Light Is. But now we get to hear it all the time on solo shows, which is very cool. Into the piano portion, You're Gonna Live Forever in Me and Changing. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that first song in the piano set is where you get a little variety every once in a while. It usually ends with Changing, the looped piano, and what is normally the only appearance of an electric guitar in this show for the epic solo on Changing. And it's no different here. Stop This Train, Age of Worry, Your Body is a Wonderland, In the Blood, Walt Grace, If I Ever Get Around, Edge of Desire, Heart of Life, very cool, and Free Fallin', of course. As we've discussed before, Free Fallin', are we sick of it? Do we like it? Do we want it? It's debatable. Depends. Now, if you're seeing this particular tour for the first time, let me know. Do you mind having Free Fallin' as the closer almost every time? I don't know, but let me take a sip of coffee here before we continue on. Where's the camera? There we are. High Noon Espresso. High Noon. That is a deep Mayer cut from the internet. If you know what High Noon Espresso is, let me know in the comments, because if you do, that means you were really paying attention probably like 5 to 8 years ago on the internet. And I learned something from John Mayer that wasn't music related, and helps me make better coffee. But here's to that. Here's some High Noon Espresso in the form of an Americano, because it's early here on Sunday morning. So let's go to the second show of the tour. Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, Shot in the Dark again. Love on the Weekend, Emoji of a Wave. Is Emoji of a Wave one of the most underrated songs that he has? Yes. I will answer that question for you. It absolutely is. It's incredible. If you go watch my other video about your 3 desert island John Mayer records, The Search for Everything is on there for me. And this song has a lot to do with that. I think it's one of his best songs, both musically, melody, just the whole thing is very, very cool. Production, if I'm not mistaken, I think some of the Beach Boys sing backup on that tune, on the record, which is iconic and very cool. So moving into the standing portion, Neon, Who Says, Something Like Olivia, Waiting on the Day, Daughters, Rosie. Rosie's kind of cool. How often does Rosie get played on these solo shows? I could probably find out on setlist.fm. They have like some amazing stats and things, but I feel like not that often. And then our first real surprise of the tour. That first show was pretty, I'm not gonna say run of the mill, but I mean, I think it was like a get back in the groove kind of thing. Let's not go take on any crazy surprises, but still deliver a phenomenal show, obviously. This is the second show of the tour. You get Blue, which is a cover by a band called the Jayhawks. Now, I'm vaguely familiar with the Jayhawks because I loved the Wallflowers. Do you remember the Wallflowers? Jacob Dylan, One Headlight, 6th Avenue Heartache. I love that band, still do. And I remember Jacob Dylan talking about the Jayhawks at one point. And then another favorite singer-songwriter of mine, Ari Hest, who mentioned the Jayhawks. So I looked into them. I've heard some of their music. I don't know that I've heard Blue, though. So very cool that Mayer decided to cover this. The Jayhawks seem to be one of those bands that they're like a musician's band. Like all these very well-respected musicians love this band. So you know what? We all have homework. Let's go listen to the Jayhawks and see what they're all about. Into the piano portion, You're Gonna Live Forever in Me, Changing, Stop This Train, Age of Worry, such a good song. And our next surprise of this tour, Do You Know Me, being played for the first time in 14 years. Another underrated song, kind of a very different, when you listen to it on the record, it's a very different song for John Mayer, especially up to that point. It's a guitar lele, which is a ukulele, but it's got 6 strings and it's tuned like a guitar, because a normal ukulele only has 4 strings and it's tuned differently than a guitar. So very cool to see that. And my good friend Loretta on Instagram sent this to me before really anybody had seen it. And with a little tidbit of information about that guitar that she has confirmed, which is it was purchased on the streets of Japan for $100. So proof positive, you don't need some amazing custom instrument to write and perform great music. So that's like kind of the first real big surprise. We wondered if we were going to get any, one-off interesting surprises, things that we did not see here on the U.S. tour, and we're getting those, especially if it took to the second show, but we've got them. So Walt Grace, another just masterpiece of a song. We should do a whole show on Walt Grace. We will do a whole show on Walt Grace. Absolutely. Both the man and the song. Edge of Desire and the Double Neck, Born and Raised, and once again, Free Fallen. Oh boy. All right. Again, tell me what you think about that. So March 15th, we roll into March 16th. You got a double header. Well, sort of not a double header, but back-to-back nights. And we're going to get some help from John Mayer's Solos, Sarah on Instagram here, because I pulled up a couple of her stories because she was at this show in Denmark. And now we're getting into, if you're a gear person, this show was very exciting. Very exciting. Even if you're not a gear person, I think it's probably exciting for you. But again, starts out with Slow Dancing and Shot in the Dark. It seems to be working for him. If you find a good opening song, not opening act, stick with it. Just as a performer and both as an audience member, I think it makes a ton of sense to kick that show off in the right direction. I Don't Trust Myself. Now that's cool on the acoustic. That's for sure. Queen of California, Why Georgia, Who Says I'm on Fire. What a great cover that is. Through 3x5, great tune off Room for Squares. Love that song. And we're, in Your Atmosphere just continually seems to end that portion of the show into the piano portion again, into the usually continuum song, Stop This Train, In the Blood, Love in the Blood, You Know I Do. Your Body's a Wonderland, Love on the Weekend. And now let's talk about this. We get the guitar lele out again. He was supposed to play Do You Know Me based on the set list, but he did not. He rolled into Say. Now, can I do this gracefully and Walt gracefully? And pull up this channel's YouTube page. I conducted a poll, and I'm starting to wonder, did John Mayer see this poll? What happened? Did he see it? Because I asked you. And how many of you answered? 205 of you answered. Which would you like to hear on the European solo shows? In the European solo shows, I said Say, Great Indoors, and Why You No Love Me. Now, Why You No Love Me won, but we got, as we go back to the set list here, Say. He played a snippet of it. He did the best he could on the fly, because I don't know that he really performed that song very often. But let's pull up John Mayer's solos here. Sarah on Instagram. We're going to just take a quick listen of what she captured of this, and the ever humble John Mayer explaining the song.
That was his guitar. It's hard for me to sing. I do say that a lot in the song.
And thus is the magic of the solo tour. The fact that you get him out of his comfort zone to try stuff like that. So we heard a couple things there. One, you've got the guitar Lele again, Say, which I think all of us on who are participating in this channel should take credit for. I think we did it. Probably not. I'm sure he didn't see that. But let's say that he did, and he voted for Say. Maybe there's just a sign there that is the likely scenario. But either way, we got a cool surprise. And what do you think of Say? I know some of you dropped some comments on that poll, pro Say and also anti Say. But he even said, like, oh, I say that a lot in that song. It's an interesting song. He did it for the movie The Bucket List in 2007. And you know, I remember I'm always just like ready to consume anything John Mayer puts out music wise. So I remember being very excited about it, getting a one-off single that wasn't on a record. Very cool. But it's a very repetitive song. It's a good song. It's a really good song. I mean, particularly for radio, it's interesting to me that like there's probably a population of people out there who like their reference point to John Mayer would be Your Body is a Wonderland, Daughters, and Say. There's a group of you out there. You're not listening to this. I can almost guarantee you that. But there's a group of people out there. If you were just caught him on the street and say, hey, do you remember John Mayer? And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. And hey, what were some of his songs? Oh, yeah, Your Body's a Wonderland. Oh, Daughters. And Say. I remember that song. Say what you need to say. Yeah, absolutely. I know that song. So it's funny because like I think most of us in the Mayer verse don't think of that song very often. He doesn't ever play it. And it's a John Mayer song, but it's in a different category. Just say that. So let's move on in the show. Walt Grace, again, like I said, we got to do a show on that. Edge of Desire on the double neck. And guess what, though? Yes, you had Free Falling on the show, but Gravity. We got the Black One back. It's his Strat, the iconic John Mayer Stratocaster, made an epic return for one song. And I'm assuming you played the Silver Sky on the Changing solo and then brought out the Gravity, the Black One for Gravity. So I have not seen any footage of it yet. And I know Justin Jeske, if you're into the John Mayer gear stuff, of course, John Mayer gear on Instagram, amazing. And Justin Jeske also on Instagram, but mostly on YouTube. Go check him out. He's out looking for that footage. And no doubt both of those gentlemen will have some in-depth stuff on the gear side of that, and maybe some insider information as to why or how or if we will see the Black One Fender Stratocaster continually brought out on this tour. Super cool. Some song surprises, some instrument surprises, two of them. We got the guitar Lele and the Strat coming back as well. Very cool. And next up, I think we have a little bit of a break here in the tour. March 16th today's the 17th, and the 18th is the next show in London. So got tomorrow, and I'll try to do shows like this to group each of them in 3 or so. There's 10 shows on this leg of the tour, so 3, 3, and 4 or something like that. But I think it's worth aggregating them a little bit just to see if there's a trend, or to not do a show on every show. But let's talk some housekeeping. If you've made it this far, you're a super fan of the Everything Mayer channel, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm working toward it is a podcast. This is a podcast. You could listen to this and not need the visual. But it's a YouTube channel and it's a podcast, and we're going to be kind of straddling both worlds. So you'll see shorter videos about like kind of hyper specific micro topics, and then longer form things where we just talk through shows, talk through albums. Hopefully someday some interviews. I don't know. If some of you did notice that I teased at the end of a previous episode that there are some potentially exciting things happening behind the scenes for this show, this channel, this podcast. So all I can say at this point is stay tuned, please, because I'm hoping at some point this year I can spring all of those things on you, and you can participate in them as well as me as I do this. Now, if you don't know me, I have another channel, Tom Butwin, on YouTube, where I do, I sing, I do gear reviews, I cover topics in mostly the guitar kind of gear related universe. And I had a lot of this Mayer content over there on that channel, but I figured it deserved its own place. The way the YouTube audience works, it makes more sense to have things over here, and which I did. And we're doing, and it's leading to some hopefully exciting things, which is a lot of fun. And, wanted to get this going before the solo leg of this tour because I knew there'd be a ton of stuff to talk about. And John Mayer, not disappointing. There are tons of things to talk about. Always exciting. It seems like he's been just so prolific in the last few years, particularly since 2020 when everything slowed down and stopped. And we've got a Sirius channel, which if you're listening out of the country, I know is difficult to get to. You've got multiple tours. If you're in Dead & Company, lots of Dead & Company stuff, even though they're not touring anymore. Lots of gear things, new colors in the silver sky. I mean, it's just like there's so much coming out of the Mayerverse. If you're into watches, you've got some of the G-Shocks that have come out. You've got a Patek that's come out. If you can buy a watch that's about as much as many houses out there. And good for you if you can. If you have one of those on order, please let me know. I would love to see it in person. Another sip of the High Noon Espresso. Again, if you know what I'm talking about, man, oh man, I can't wait to see if anybody catches that reference. But so it's just been a very interesting and prolific time in the Mayer world. And, I'm a huge fan of what he does and just in multiple facets. And I know you are as well. If you are a huge fan, this is the place for you. Please subscribe and share this video around. If any of you are part of the Reddit group for John Mayer, I like to share things myself, but it's always more effective when other people share things because it's like, oh, there's the guy sharing his own stuff again. Like, yeah, I get it. So if you feel so inclined, share some of these episodes around, tell your Mayer friends, and appreciate you welcoming me into the online Mayer appreciation community. I hope we can do some really cool stuff together, and I think we can. We already are, which is awesome. So that's about it for this episode 7. I'm numbering these, but like I said, there's not 7 videos on the channel. We've got a bunch of old stuff that I brought over. I know many of you have kind of come down on my Mayer album ranking because the one I have up right now is pre-Sob Rock. I have to, full disclosure, I can't find the thumbnail for the update that includes Sob Rock. I need to just make a new one, and then I'll drop that also. So we can argue over that list as well. I thought about, I did something similar to this on my main channel called Mayer Mondays years ago, which I think some of you found me from. And we'll see if we hit a slow season, maybe we'll release some of those old episodes, but they're all pretty time period specific. So I don't know that I'm going to do that. Maybe we'll put them up in some other way, shape, or form for people to access in the future. We'll see. So again, if you made it this far, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode. We've got more exciting shows coming up this week. No doubt there will be things to talk about, and we will talk about them right here on Everything Mayer.